To whom may find these words after I am gone? The doctor says, my lungs won't last another winter. Fitting, I suppose, as winter brought her to me all those years ago. Now as the first frost settles on the window glass, I find myself needing to set down the truth of what happened. Not for absolution, some sins can't be washed clean, but so someone might understand why Thomas Wheeler, who folks called a hard man with no heart to speak of, died with an Apache name on his lips. I was 43 years old that December of '69 when the great blizzard hit the Montana Territory. 3 days of wind that cut like knives and snow so thick you couldn't see your hand before your face. I'd stocked the barn good for my horses and cattle, and was fixing to ride out the worst of it with coffee, laced with whiskey and old memories for company. The fourth night, just as dusk was falling gray against the white, I heard a strange sound by the barn door. Not quite a knock, more like something falling against wood. Rifle in hand, I trudged through snow near waist deep to investigate. She was little more than a bundle of rags at first glance, collapsed against my barn door. Snow had already begun covering her like a shroud. I thought her dead until I saw the smallest cloud of breath escape her blue lips. An Indian girl, Apache, by the look of her beaded moccasins, though what an Apache was doing this far north in Blackfoot country, I couldn't say. I ain't proud to admit I hesitated. In those days, Indians and white men existed in fragile peace at best, outright bloodshed at worst, and I had my reasons to keep my distance. But standing there, watching death claim her inch by inch, I couldn't walk away. I scooped her up. She weighed no more than a child, and carried her into my cabin. I stripped off her frozen clothes, wrapped her in my only good wool blanket, and laid her by the fire. Her skin was like ice, her breathing shallow. I didn't know if she'd last the night. I sat vigil, spooning warm broth between her lips when she'd take it. By morning, color had returned to her cheeks. Her eyes, when they finally opened, were black as coal and filled with fear. She scrambled away from me, pressing herself against the wall, speaking rapid words I couldn't understand. You're safe, I told her, though I doubted. She understood English any better than I understood Apache. Nobody's gonna hurt you here. For 3 days, she didn't speak, just watched me with those eyes that seemed to see right through a man. I gave her one of my shirts to wear and set up a pallet for her by the fire. Taking myself to the chair at night, I called her girl for lack of anything better. On the fourth day, the storm finally broke. I was out clearing paths to the barn when I saw them on the ridge. 7 Apache warriors on horseback, still as statues against the morning sky. My heart hammered in my chest. I'd fought Apaches during my time as a scout for the cavalry, and knew well what they could do to a man they found alone. They rode down slow, deliberately, their faces painted for something solemn. I stood my ground, though my hand itched for the rifle I'd left inside. The leader, an older man with lines etched deep in his face, dismounted and approached. To my surprise, he spoke English. You took in one of our own, he said. It wasn't a question. Found her half frozen by my barn, I answered. Couldn't leave her to die. A flicker of something. Approval. Maybe crossed his weathered face. She is Nasha, daughter to my sister. We were separated in the storm during our journey north. The girl, Nasha, appeared in the doorway of my cabin, still wearing my overlarge shirt. She spoke rapidly to the old man, gesturing at me several times. I couldn't tell if she was accusing or defending. When she finished, the old man turned to me. You wrapped her in your only blanket. You fed her from your stores. You kept her by your fire. Each statement hung in the air like a judgment. Wasn't nothing special, I muttered. Any man would have done the same. A sound like bitter laughter escaped him. No, many men would not. He paused, studying me. Among our people, when a man shelters a woman this way, it means something. It is a claiming. I felt my face grow hot despite the cold. Now wait just a minute. He raised his hand. Our ways are not your ways, but some traditions must be honored, even between enemies. He pointed at Nasha. By our custom, you have claimed her as wife. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. That ain't what I intended, I stammered. I was just trying to help. Intention matters less than action. The old man said, the elders have spoken, she will remain. Before I could protest further, they turned and rode away, leaving Nasha standing in my doorway, her expression unreadable. I stood there in the snow, watching until they disappeared over the ridge, feeling like I'd been caught in some elaborate joke. That night, Nasha cooked a simple meal and set it before me without meeting my eyes. I tried to explain that she was free to go, that I made no claim on her, but the language barrier stood firm between us. When night fell, she curled up on her pallet by the fire, and I took the chair as before. Word spread quick as wildfire. Within days, the whole valley knew Thomas Wheeler was living with an Apache woman. Folks I'd called neighbors for 15 years crossed the street to avoid me. The general store owner made me wait outside, while he gathered my supplies, tossing them at my feet like I was diseased. Apache lover, they whispered behind my back. Injun wife. I'd never been one for company, but the isolation cut deeper than I expected. Only old Jim Harkins, who'd lost an arm at Gettysburg, still spoke to me straight. You've kicked a hornet's nest, Tom, he told me one afternoon, helping me load supplies into my wagon. Folks round here don't take kindly to mixing. Ain't no mixing, I growled. She's just staying till spring, then I'll take her south to her people. Jim gave me a knowing look. Whatever you say. Just watch your back. Some boys been talking ugly after a few drinks. I nodded, feeling the weight of eyes on me from the saloon across the street. Weeks passed, and Nasha remained silent as a shadow, though she kept the cabin neat and cooked our meals. Sometimes I'd catch her watching me with an expression I couldn't read. At night I'd lie awake in my chair, listening to her soft breathing from the pallet, wondering what in God's name I was supposed to do with a wife who wasn't really my wife, who couldn't understand a word I said. Then came the night of the first snowmelt. I was dozing by the fire when a cry woke me. Nasha was thrashing in her sleep, tears streaming down her face, speaking that rapid Apache. I knelt beside her, not knowing how to comfort someone. I couldn't understand. When she woke, her eyes wild with fear, I did the only thing I could think of. I took her hand. To my surprise, she didn't pull away. Instead, she placed my palm against her cheek, her tears wetting my skin. Naska, I said, my voice sounding strange in the quiet cabin. It was the first time I'd spoken her name. Something changed after that night. She began teaching me words in Apache, simple things like water and fire. I taught her English in return. Each new word was a small victory, a brick removed from the wall between us. Then came the day she pointed to herself and said, clear as day, Nasha. Then she pointed to me, waiting. Thomas, I told her. She shook her head, pointing again, more insistent. Wheeler, I tried. She frowned, then placed her hand over her heart, then mine. Nasha. She repeated. You. I understood then. She wanted to know what I called myself in my heart. It had been so long since anyone had asked me such a thing. Tom, I said finally. Just Tom. She smiled then, the first real smile I'd seen from her. Tom, she repeated, and something in my chest shifted, like a door long rusted shut being pried open. Spring came slow that year, grudgingly surrendering the land back from winter's grip. As the days lengthened, Nasha's English improved, though she spoke it with a lilting accent that reminded me of creek water over stones. One evening, as we sat by the fire, she suddenly asked, "Why you alone, Tom? No family?" The question caught me off guard. Had a wife once, I admitted, Sarah. Fever took her and our boy back in '59. Long time alone, she observed. Guess so. She was quiet a moment, then said, "You fight Apache before." It wasn't a question. My blood ran cold. How'd you know that? You have nightmares. Talk in sleep. Her dark eyes studied me. You say Apache words. Bad words soldiers use. Shame burned through me. I'd spent 5 years as a scout for the cavalry, tracking Apache bands. I'd led soldiers to villages. I'd seen what happened after. That was a long time ago. I said, not meeting her eyes. Not so long for some, she replied softly. The next morning, 3 riders approached my property. Not Apaches this time, but white men from town. I recognized Frank Dawson, the banker's son, a mean drunk with a mean streak to match. "Wheeler," he called, reining in his horse. "Got some business with you." I stepped out onto the porch, shotgun in hand but pointed at the ground. "State your business then." Dawson sneered. "Heard you got yourself an Apache squaw. Thought we made it clear what happens to Injun lovers in these parts." "You best turn around," I said evenly. "Ain't no business of yours who stays in my cabin." "See, that's where you're wrong." He spat a stream of tobacco juice. "When a man starts thinking he can live like a savage, brings shame on all of us, might give other Indians ideas." "I ain't looking for trouble," I warned. "Too late for that." Dawson nodded to his companions, and they spread out, hands hovering near their pistols. "We're gonna burn this place to the ground, with or without you in it. Your choice." What happened next still visits me in dreams. Nasha appeared beside me, a rifle in her hands, my old sharps that I kept mounted above the fireplace. Before I could react, she fired a shot that took Dawson's hat clean off his head. The men recoiled in shock. Nasha worked the lever, chambering another round with practiced ease. "Next one, not miss," she said clearly. Dawson's face turned purple with rage. "You let your squaw fight for you, Wheeler. What kind of man are you?" "The kind that's still breathing," I replied. "Now get off my land before she decides to aim lower." They left, hurling threats and curses, but I knew they'd be back with more men next time. That night I confronted Nasha. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" Her expression hardened. "My father was Army Scout too, like you, before soldiers kill him." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. "Your father worked for the Army." She nodded. "He show white men Apache trails, Apache hiding places." Her eyes bored into mine. "Some Apache call him traitor, but he tried to protect our people. Make peace." She paused. "They kill him anyway." "I'm sorry," I said, the words feeling wholly inadequate. "Why you leave Army, Tom?" she asked. I'd never told anyone the full truth, not in all these years. But looking at her now, I found I wanted her to know. "There was a raid," I began slowly. "Village near the San Carlos River. I'd tracked them for the Army. They said they just wanted to talk peace terms." I swallowed hard. It was a lie. They waited till dawn, then attacked. Women, children. I tried to stop it, but my voice failed me. "You see bad things," she said. "Not accusation, just understanding." After that, I couldn't do it anymore. Came north, as far from Apache territory as I could get. Thought I could outrun what I'd been part of. She was quiet a long moment. Then, "You cannot outrun shadow. It follow always. Seems that way," I agreed. She moved closer, took my hand in hers. "My Apache name Nasha. It mean owls in your tongue. Owls see in dark. I see you, Tom Wheeler. All of you. I don't know who moved first. Maybe we both did. But suddenly she was in my arms, and I was holding her like a drowning man clings to shore. That night, I gave her my bed. I took the chair as always, but something fundamental had changed between us. We were no longer strangers, forced together by circumstance, but two souls recognizing something in each other. The next morning, all woke to find Nasha gone. Panic seized me, until I spotted a piece of paper on the table. All words carefully printed in the English I'd taught her. "Gone hunting. Back soon." Relief flooded me, followed quickly by confusion. In all our months together, she'd never left the property alone. I went about my chores with one eye on the horizon, waiting for her return. She came back mid-afternoon, leading a horse I didn't recognize. Behind her rode the old Apache man who had left her with me, her uncle, Thomas Wheeler. He greeted me, dismounting stiffly. "Wasn't expecting visitors," I said cautiously. "Nasca sent for me." He glanced at his niece with something like pride. "She says there is trouble. Over coffee." Nashao explained in rapid Apache what had happened with Dawson and his men. The old man, Gray Wolf, he called himself, listened intently, his face betraying nothing. "These men will return," he said finally. "With more guns." "I reckon so." I agreed. "Why do you stay?" he asked. "You could leave this place." I looked around at the cabin I'd built with my own hands, the land I'd worked for 15 years. "This is my home." Gray Wolf studied me.
Hey,
"You are a strange white man, Thomas Wheeler. You fight against Apache, then take one into your home. You claim Nasha as wife by our custom, yet sleep in a chair while she takes your bed." I felt heat rise to my face. I never meant to claim her. That wasn't my intention. "So you have said." A hint of amusement touched his features. "Yet here you both remain." "Uncle," Nasha interrupted, speaking English deliberately, "I stay because I choose. Tom is good man." Gray Wolf raised an eyebrow. "Good men are rare in any tribe." He turned to me. "Nasha tells me you were once a scout, that you left because you could not stomach the army's treachery." I nodded, shame and old anger mixing in my gut. "Then perhaps you were meant to find each other." He rose. "I will send word. When these men come, you will not face them alone." Before I could protest, he was gone, riding back toward the mountains. That night, Nasha and I sat close by the fire. "Why did you send for him?" I asked. "He is elder, respected warrior." She hesitated. "And he know truth about my father." "What truth?" She took a deep breath. "My father was scout for army at Fort Bowie. He worked with white officer named Lieutenant Thomas Wheeler." The world seemed to stop. "What did you say?" "My father called him Little Wolf, for how he moved through forest." Her eyes held mine. "You know this man?" Memory crashed over me. A wiry Apache scout who moved like smoke through the trees. We'd tracked together for nearly 2 years. The men had called him Joe, but among his people, he was Hostin, I whispered. Nasha's eyes widened. "Yes, Hostin Tesei, my father. He taught me everything I knew about tracking." I said, my voice strange to my own ears. "We saved each other's lives a dozen times over. But after the massacre, they kill him," she said softly. "Say he help Apache escape. Call him traitor." Horror and understanding dawned together. "Your father warned the village. That's why half of them were gone when the soldiers attacked." She nodded. "He sent me north with mother's people. Say it's safer." Her hand found mine. "All these years, I think. White Scout betray my father. Get him killed. Nazca." "I swear to you I didn't know." "I know now," she interrupted. "Uncle, tell me truth. Say you try to stop killing. Say you testify for my father at trial." It had been a farce of a military tribunal. My testimony hadn't saved Hostin, but it had ended my career as a scout. I'd ridden north the day after they hanged him, carrying the weight of my failure. "I should have done more," I said. "I should have stopped it." "One man cannot stop River," she replied. "But River remember who try." The attacks came 3 nights later. First a burning arrow on the barn roof, quickly extinguished. Then shots fired from the darkness, splintering the cabin walls. Nasha and I returned fire, keeping them at bay until dawn showed the hillside empty. They came back the next night, and the next, each time more determined, each time driven back. We slept in shifts, exhaustion wearing us thin. On the 4th night they came in force, 15 men at least, carrying torches and shouting for blood. Dawson led them, his face twisted with drink and hatred. "Last chance, Wheeler," he bellowed. "Send out the squaw, and we might let you live." I stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. "You boys turn around now, and we'll forget this foolishness." Laughter rippled through the mob. "Ain't just us you gotta worry about," Dawson sneered. "Marshals riding up from Helena. Seems living with an Injun violates territorial law." "Then I'll take that up with the marshal when he gets here," I replied evenly. "You won't be alive to do it." Dawson raised his arm. "Burn it down, boys." The first torch arced toward the cabin, but never landed. An arrow struck it mid-flight, sending it spinning harmlessly into the snow. From the darkness behind the mob came a high, piercing war cry. Apache warriors materialized from the shadows, 24 at least, their painted faces ghostly in the moonlight. Gray Wolf rode at their center, magnificent and terrible. "This man and woman are under protection of the people," he announced. "Any who wish to die tonight, step forward." The mob's courage evaporated like morning dew. They scattered, some dropping their weapons in their haste to flee. Only Dawson remained, his face slack with shock. "This ain't over, Wheeler," he spat, backing away. "Law's still the law." Gray Wolf watched him go, then turned to me. "The marshal comes, so they say." He nodded grimly. "Then you must choose, Thomas Wheeler. Stay and face their law, or come with us." Nasha appeared beside me, her hand finding mine. "We go together," she said simply. I looked at the cabin I'd built, the land I'd worked, the life I'd made in my attempt to escape the past. But the past had found me anyway, had in fact been sleeping under my roof all winter. "I need a day," I told Gray Wolf, "to settle things." He inclined his head. "One day, then we ride south." The dawn found me in town, signing over my property to Jim Harkins in exchange for cash, supplies, and his silence. By nightfall we were gone. Nasha, Gray Wolf, myself, and 20 Apache warriors, riding south through mountain passes the army didn't know existed. We traveled for weeks, working our way back to Apache territory. Along the way, Nasha taught me her language, and I began to understand her people in ways I never had as a scout. They were not the savages the army painted them to be, nor the noble innocents of Eastern newspapers. They were simply people, complex, flawed, and fighting to survive in a world that offered them few choices. We settled finally in a hidden valley near the Mexican border. Gray Wolf's band accepted me. If warily at first, I taught them about army tactics, helped them avoid patrols. In return, they showed me how to live as they lived. Nasha and I were properly married that spring, in the Apache way. She wore flowers in her hair and looked more beautiful than any woman had a right to. That night she finally shared my bed as my wife. Years passed. Children came. 3 sons and a daughter, with their mother's eyes and their father's height. I learned to hunt and track as the Apache did, until soldiers couldn't tell my sign from theirs. Sometimes at night, the old guilt would find me, for the villages I'd helped destroy, for Hostin who died, because I hadn't stood with him sooner. On those nights, Nasha would hold me close and whisper, "Shadow follows, but we walk in light now." And we did, for many years, until consumption found me, as it finds so many these days. The doctors at the reservation say there's nothing to be done. Nasha refuses to accept it. Even now, she burns herbs and sings healing songs. Our children, grown now with children of their own, come daily to sit by my bedside. They carry both worlds within them, as I have tried to do these past 20 years. I write these words not seeking forgiveness, but as testimony that a man can change, that enemies can become family, that love, when it finds you, rarely comes in the form you expect. Winter approaches again. I feel it in my bones, same as I felt that first winter, when a half-frozen girl collapsed against my barn door. I was given a second chance that night, though I didn't know it then. A chance to make right what I'd done wrong. A chance to find home in the most unlikely of places. As the first snow falls outside our lodge, I find I'm not afraid. Nasha sits beside me, her hair now streaked with silver, still beautiful beyond words. She has promised to bury me in the Apache way, facing east so my spirit can ride toward the rising sun. I am Thomas Wheeler. No longer, among the people, I am known as Ga-Jay, Raven, the scout, who turned against his own kind to protect those he once hunted. It is not a name I chose, but one I've tried to earn. And when the last breath leaves me, it will be Nasha's name on my lips. For she found me in winter, and taught me how to live in all seasons that followed.